Good afternoon, everyone. My name is GMT. I'm Internal Audit Manager. Today we're going to talk about internal control. You know, we are the Internal Audit Department. We perform audits, review of many auditees, including grants, contract. And we see some deficiency. We see non-compliance. We see areas where they need improvement. So one common cause is that they did not have an effective internal control. So we thought this would be a good topic that we can share with you, a principle of the internal control at a very high level. We only have 20 minutes, so we're not going through the detail, but just a high level. So when you evaluate your existing control, you might find, okay, this is very good. Or you might find, I want to improve. You can use the idea we talked about today to design and implement whatever needed for your grant management. And that's our objective today. So then you say, well, what's the internal control? Well, according to the OMB Uniform Guidance, it's a process effected by management, which is you all, and other personnel that you work around, designed to provide a reasonable, not absolute assurance that you can achieve the following three major objectives. The very first one, you do the right things, and you do it in the first time, right. That's going to be effectiveness and efficiency of your grant operation. The second one is the reliability of your financial reporting. The records, the data, including the financial information that you submitted to funding agency, to central office, and other alliance partners need to be accurate. The process should help you make sure that the data submitted is accurate. The last one is the compliance with applicable laws and regulation. They just have so many laws and regulation on the different categories. Do you know everything you need to know? The control should help you identify the specific requirement in accordance with the laws and regulation and those special provisions in your grants contract. Together, those processes should help you achieve your objectives. And of course, there's some other definition that they might safeguard your assets, your equipment, your other important information. And of course, if everything else works, you are going to have a positive information from community, then you can help you achieve your overall objective. Then the next question is that, well, who's going to do that? When I work with so many departments, there's a central office, there's a grants and contract department. I'm just a PI. I have a very limited control. But according to the financial records, then we know majority of the expenditure are payroll, in addition to supplies, travel, conference that you're going to incur. Those costs are initiated by your grant, and very likely approved by you. So you do have a control that it's in your best interest to have those processes in place. So you know at the end of the day, my grant's good. I don't have any worry about, this is going to be a non-compliance, there's going to be a negative publicity on the news or something like that. Well, the next question is that how should I do it? Well, there's a model has been used by professionals for years in public, private sectors, industry, academia, around the world, particularly initially from accounting work, they started expanding to operation, to compliance. And these models actually give you 5 components, and we thought we can go through this one together. They are interrelated components. Each one needs to be present and functioning, and all 5 of them need to operate together. So the very first one is set the tone at the top. Your organization or even university has established a clear reporting line. There's authority, responsibility, and structures that people know how to follow, how to report if any issue arises. They need to have a clear, some kind of commitment to demonstrate they are going to attract, develop, and retain competent people, and you are willing to hold them accountable. That's the foundation of all the control environment. And we believe if you get this one right, everything will follow. You have the right people, you have the right mind. You just need a skill and tool to do the right things. The second one is the risk assessment. You need to know what risk your grant is going to facing. Is it some particular requirement this year, or is there some changing in the technology you need to catch up, or is there any particular fraud risk you are facing? Because the money you receive, there's a lot of people is going to involve. Would those expenses charged to the grant are legit? Are they all business related? Those are the risks you need to know before you know how you're going to manage those risks. So know what the risks are and find a way to mitigate those risks. The third one is control activity. It's a policy and procedure that you select and develop, and you can use that to mitigate the control. They including general control over technology. Technology changing every day. Do you have a right resource to protect the information you're obligated to protect? Like, there's a personal identified information on computer. There's a particular lab requirements. There's a safety and other concern. What procedure are you going to implement? This is the control activity that you can think through it. Initially, people wanted to build some policy, and they started to create a procedure. That way they can follow the management directive. That's the third one, control activity. The fourth one is information and communication. Well, what data did you use? Did you use something from your shuttle system, or you use the one from Banner, from UNM.edu's website information? Is that qualified information? Is your department able to obtain from outsider, or your department is actually the one generate those source of data, and you use that, share with the other department, so people can use that information to prepare in their workflow and submit it to agency as a final result. In communication, you communicate internally, you communicate externally for issue that you need to communicate. The last one is monitoring. Any design of a control require ongoing and periodic evaluation. If you find something is kind of deviated from your original intent, or maybe things has changed, the procedure you designed 2 years ago may not be relevant. You may need to revisit and change it as needed. If you identify any deficiency, you need to communicate to those people who are responsible for taking correct action, including the senior management, including the board of the region. And you monitor those deficiencies, see if they're actually corrected, because it's your grant. Your grant is going to continue and going forward. So identify those one and continue to improve. This is the 5 components we thought we can share with you. And then more detail in terms of risk effect. I think the previous section already covered. If you don't comply with this requirement, what consequence you're going to see. I listed here so you'll know. And more details, how to avoid the risk. Like I said earlier, understand the requirement of laws and regulation and be able to design a procedure and maintain the procedure to comply those requirements. When we are audit, first of all, we ask the PI, we ask the program directors, do you know this particular compliance requirement? If they don't know, pretty much it's going to be a deficiency. If you don't know, how can you even find a way to comply those requirements? So understanding your environment, know what's the particular requirement outlined in your grants and contract, in your university's policy and procedure, and demonstrate that, yes, this is what we know, and we're actually doing it. And then create an audit trail they can be visited when it's needed. And audit, this was mentioned earlier before, but I just want to cover the one internal audit department perform. Annually, we identify the risk, revisit what we identified in the past, and obtain the input from senior management, from member of the audit and compliance committee, and together we identify a audit work plan, and we start to lay out our audit program, and particularly individually, and we perform our duty. In addition to the regular audit plan, we may receive investigation requests due to complaint, due to other concern we might receive. Those investigations for our departments under our purview is more financial related matters, like a fraud. There's a timesheet fraud, there's a PCAR fraud, there's some other fund being misused or misappropriated. If we receive tips or we receive a complaint, we may determine how we're going to investigate it. So you might see internal audit or other investigating partner if they need to perform some investigation. So in addition to the risk assessment, we have some other things you can consider. This is just an example, it's not everything, but something you can think about it. As a PI, once the amount was used, you want to make sure that properly reflect in your financial activity records. Like the previous section, the Grants and Country Department, they mentioned that you can run certain report to monitor your financial activity, to make sure the amount that you expect to be charged is actually charged there, and charged to the right count, right quote. And as a PI, you want to make sure people that process your financial records know you are reviewing their work, you are checking their work. That way they know if something's wrong, they can ask you, and you can ask questions as well. In case something, there's a misunderstanding between you and those people handling your receipt, process your break request, they may not know exactly what you need to ask them to do. So this is just an example that you can make sure before you sign the particular PCAR reconciliation log, this is legit. Documentation is properly maintained. You see that, and you have some way to make sure these people process under your direction correctly before you sign it. And of course, there's a segregation of duties. It's just the common audit practice, and you don't want to approve your own expenses. Give it to someone above you to approve. And there's some other thing you can, read it. So the very idea is that we share this principle of internal control. And there's some other additional resources in your handout. You can use that. It's called a control self-assessment form that you can use that to go through. They talk about cash management, procurement, travel, and other common areas. You might want to revisit and make sure, yes, I'm still in good shape. We have some control in place. That's the very first section. The second section is the reporting misconduct. According to the policy 2200, if you are aware of or have a reason to suspect this misconduct exists, you are required to report it. But people might think, well, I'm not really feel comfortable. I might be able to, not do it because people might be able to come back and then find out I'm the one reported. So there's a mechanism in place that you can report those misconduct and still remain anonymous. That's the hotline. It's administered by a third party. It's not by an internal audit department. People can call those 800 number and without review any identification if they choose to do that. There's also a website portal. It will be available tomorrow. People can log in and then just follow the same question, just like you would call the hotline, and then you just do it on your own. This, again, is administered by a third party. University does track who or when they report those misconduct through the portal or the hotline. Currently, as of today, internal audit is the intaking point for official board, but effective tomorrow, the compliance office, our main campus, led by Helen Gonzalez, our former human resource director, they are going to take over this intaking point for us. So internal audit just remain as an investigating partner. Whatever matters case assigned to us, we will perform the audit in addition to our routines annual work plan. But they will be the one to go through and refer to human resource, refer to OEO, legal, or any other like provost, other college dean, whoever to do investigation. So what could go wrong? I mean, this is just an exercise for you as a part of the risk assessment. You know the principle of the internal control. You know the reporting misconduct is a part of the monitoring. If something's go wrong, either you identify your own, you fix it, or someone will tell authority and tell you to fix it. What could go wrong is just the exercise. I receive this money, or I expected to receive certain amount of money, including the grant money. Could it be a wire transfer? Could it be a check? Could it be a cash from other vendor or customers or participant? If I expect those activity within my grant, has then if reflected in our monthly financial record. And if not, you can initiate a request to ask people, why we have this activity, we made this fundraising, where did this money recorded to? Is this still processing or what? The other thing is the donation. If you receive a donation, according to the current policy, you need to refer to UNM Foundation. They will be the one to take the cash. And the next one is the money out. Payroll is the very first one. It's the largest expenditure categories. You need to make sure the percentage is right, the rate's right, the type of the employee, they are exempt or not exempt, overtime or they don't take overtime. The hours is right or not. It's very common. We see a timesheet was being misused, and they might pad a little bit, and over the time it's starting to create a huge liability to the grant. So that's the one we thought it's the critical one. The second one is the P-card. P-card purchase can be used for many purposes. Within the card in hand, you might ask people to purchase something. But we see a lot of instances where people just buying it and they don't have any good record to support they are legit for their lab, for their business purpose. And their documentation sometimes may not be as strong as you wanted to see. And they create a question mark that, well, did the PI even review it? Well, did they sign off? But is it thorough enough to detect those errors at the source before they even forward to a PCA office for review? And this is back to the idea, control environment, risk assessment, control activity. How did you get it right? So it's more efficient. You don't have to wait until people to tell you this PCA purchase is not fully supported. And robocard can be used to buy other things as well. Equipment, they may contain the sensitive information. Before you let this equipment dispose of, have you wiped out all the critical information on the computer? Do they include in some kind of inventory and tracking and disposal on the annual basis to the inventory control? That's the thing that you use money or grant money to purchase. So anything you dispose of, you need to have some kind of system to track. Yes, this has been determined to be obsolete. This has been determined to be not working, so we need to dispose. It's not someone just take it without your permission to do that. I think that's what I have today. The last one, just the payroll control. With this internal control idea, if you make sure this thing has been done accordingly, you will feel like my word is safe from any payroll problem because you have done so. So thank you so much. Any questions? All right.